All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to this week's Building Public live stream. This is the live stream that we here at Shardeum we used to relate with our community, especially our developer community and all the contributors who are helping us build Shardeum. This week, what we want to do is go over our network monitoring site and try to make our improvements on it. There's been a couple of things that has changed since the last time that we worked on it. At least we now have a completely new network, which is the Atomium Network. So we're going to look at that network monitoring tool, see the updates that we can make to it, and if there are any bugs that we should fix, so that we can catch up with the current state of the Shardeum network. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Going to be this one. Awesome. All right. This, if you want to follow along, let me quickly see if I can give you all a heads up on what we are going to do today. We have this repository called the network status. I think it's right here, is it? Yeah, this one. So if you'd like to follow along, if you want to play around with the project itself, you can go ahead and clone this repository and try to work with me as we go through it locally. Otherwise, just hang on, and we're going to do everything live on the stream. So what I want to do is I'm going to start out the project. We are using Prometheus as our time series database for data storage of all our metrics. So I'm going to kick off the Prometheus server. I have the network status project set up here. So I'm going to start that up, and I'm going to show you what it looks like before we start messing with it. If this is the first time you're joining us on stream and you're wondering what all of these are, we've got the backend and the front end part of the project. The backend part of the project is basically a node server that talks to Prometheus. It does all the service queries for all the services that we want to monitor, and then it sends all that data back to Prometheus. And then our front end basically grabs that data from Prometheus here and shows that data on screen. So it's a very straightforward project. So I'm going to see if we have something coming out on localhost. And yeah, this is what it looks like. So we have a couple of different services that we're monitoring. We have the archiver server, we have the monitor, website, we have Explorer, documentation, our JSON RPC server, and the second archiver that we really don't have right now. So I'm going to remove this service. So what we want to do today basically is to update all of these services. Previously when we built this, we were on the Shardeum Sphinx, I think 1.11 network. But now we have the Atomium network, so it makes sense to update it, because as you can see, it looks like everything is down for some reason. But the services are not down, just that the links are pointing to the wrong versions of our current network status. So let's do that. Right now we have an endpoint.json file. I hope my screen is visible enough. Otherwise, let me know and I will zoom in a bit more. But yeah, we have this endpoint.json file where we list all the services we want to track, or we want to basically keep up with their status. We have the archiver too, but we really don't expose that. So this is just like a dummy, a replication of the first one. So I'm going to get rid of that. And all of these URLs have changed, right? We're no longer using this archiver. This is the archiver for the Sphinx network. So I'm going to start from here, and I'm just going to go grab the current URL of the current archiver, and I'm going to add it there. So just give me 1 second to dig around the Shardeum Slack, see if I can find a link to the archive servers. I think I see one. Okay. I'm not sure if I should keep this here so that we can maybe hold a record of the. I don't think so, because this is the Sphinx network, and I don't think there's any need for us to keep both. So I'm just going to update the existing one. Okay, so this is our current archive service. Let me actually try and see if that URL does in fact return nodes. It does return our nodes. Okay, so now we're using the archive server on the Atomium network, and I think this might also change. Let's see, it's 794. Yes. Okay, so we built all of these projects on this live stream. So if anything is confusing, you can always ask me, and I will respond to it later. So what we're doing basically is we're making a call to this endpoint, and we are comparing the response we get back to this object that we've defined here. So as you can see, we get a node list of a couple of different nodes in the list, and we have this sign property at the end of the response, which is this basically. So we get our node list, which is this array, and we have this sign object with a couple of stuff in it. Okay, that's for the archive server. I'm going to come down to the monitor server. So this URL is for the Sphinx network again. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to find the monitor server for the Atomium network. I think I wrote down some of the Atomium network URLs. I just can't seem to find where I kept it. Let's see. I think it's this one. Oh, it's this one, monitor server. So in the future, when we have multiple servers, like maybe have 2 monitor servers or 3 archive servers and things like that, we will add more of those here. So what's going to happen is we go to this monitor server, and we are going to expect to get an ascending text back. If we do get that back as part of the response, then we can say that the service is online. Okay, the next one is the JSON RPC server, right? This is an important one, and I'm going to find the URL for the Atomium network JSON RPC server. I think it's this one. Okay, found it. Everything else should be the same. The expected response, I think, should be exactly the same. And then we are now in the websites. For the Explorer, I think I'm gonna check this.org. I think this is the Sphinx Explorer. So I can just modify the URL to be explorer-atomium.shardeum.org, new Explorer for the Atomium network, and then we can check it against this text. I'm going to grab this, and that would be our expected response, should be this. Okay, the website seems to be online, because we didn't really change the website for Shardeum, right? It's still the same URL that it was before, so that one's working as it is. We don't need to change anything there. And for the documentation, yeah, if you didn't notice, we changed some things in the documentation. We're currently actually using a new documentation altogether. I think it's Shardeum. I'm just going to Shardeum docs, Yes. So this is a new documentation, different from the old one that we're using before. So it's still the same URL, but the text on screen has changed. So I'm just gonna, let me just grab this as my expected response as opposed to this other string that we have here. Okay, I think the URL is the same. Great, okay, so I'm going to save this, and after some seconds, I think Prometheus is going to pick up on those changes. Let's see. Yes, I'm getting that a lot of services are now healthy, and I think it's going to take some time before the front end is updated, because the results is usually cached for some time before it fetches the new data. Okay, there we go. So our documentation, JSON RPC server, Explorer, Archiver, and Monitor, everything is now online yet again. And what we've done basically is we've basically just switched out all the URLs that we had on the Sphinx network, and we've added the URLs of all the services on the Atomium network. And now, especially now that we are getting into the bug bounty program, we are in incentivized testnets, you want to be sure that, you know, Shardeum services are online. So this is a quick place for you to immediately go and check, see if anything is offline, and if it is, you would know. Okay, so this is a second page that we have. It's called the uptime monitor page. It's going to basically show you the time on how it's basically going to compute for you how long the services has been online or it has been offline. We have the latency graph, which is going to show you the responses, you know, how fast each of those services that we're monitoring were able to respond to our Prometheus pings. And I think there's hold on a second. Okay, I think there's a bug that I have kind of fixed. Let me check the front end side of things, see what we are. I think it's uptime. I'm going to check how data is coming from fetch status. Yes. Okay, yeah, so this is what I wanted to change. Service history. Recent services. Slide 0. Yeah, I wanted to see if I made this negative limit, if it will pick the latest one out of the queue for me. And then for the status, I want to see if instead of choosing the first one, if I tried to use the last item or the most recent item, if it can better update my status. So let's do recent services dot length, then -1. Okay, perfect. All right. So because I was having this bug before where if the network updates, I still kind of get the check mark turning red and not being accurate with the recent values that we get here. So I'm going to try to see if I fix that by turning some of those services off again. Let's see let me turn off the monitor server, for instance. I'm just going to put a random value here so that this is a wrong endpoint, and with any log I can see that the monitor is unhealthy if you look at the logs, because I've kind of messed up the URL for the monitor server. And then what I expect to happen is that even though we get like the next cycle, we're going to get a red bar showing that the network, the monitor server is now offline. The check mark should also indicate that as well, just like we have on the Archiver 2 one. I'm not sure how. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so that seems to fix it. Because what we had before, let me go back to the code. What we had before here is that we were looking at the most recent. We had like, I'm going to Ctrl Z. I feel like I solved the problem before I told you all what the problem was. So this is what we had before. And this is how we're pulling the service history. And for the status of the network, we're basically just getting the status of the the last one. But what we did, let me see if I can go all the way back to what I had before, is then we are picking out the length, so we're getting the last item, and that last item is what is setting the value of the check marks. So that is what we have. What we also did for easier visibility for people who care about things like latency and how fast are your services responding, is that we spread out the website services from the server services. So here we've got our archive server, monitor server, JSON RPC server, and we have our Explorer, documentation, and website here. So this shows you how fast each of these services are responding when you try to pull them. So this is mostly what I wanted to do on stream today. I think this site is up to date now. We can push this up to GitHub and get it deployed, so that if any one of you wants to know, what is the current state of any of Shardeum's services, you can easily go to the website and see for yourself. If there's any downtime, you would notice here and in all the other pages as well. I'm gonna quickly come back to Discord and see if there's any questions. Anyone have any questions for me before we roll? Well, if you're joining us and you'd like to be kept in the loop with all the things we do on Shardeum, especially on our open source efforts, I'm going to use this opportunity to share that this is our GitHub repository. Where is it? So this is where we carry out all of our open source efforts. We have a couple of open source projects. I'm going to show you some of them. I'm going to filter for public. So these are some of the open source projects that we have. If you go to the Shardeum organization as well, you would see some of them pinned on this section. So these are all the services that we're currently accepting contributions on. So if you notice anything that you'd like to do as your own little way of contributing to Shardeum, be it documentation, be it design, even if it's just discussions and starting issues and logging issues and things like that we can improve on, it's all completely welcomed. We have most of those conversations about the open source things that we're doing in the OSS devs channel. If Shuam or Sonia would like to put that in the chat so that you can all click and join us. So what we basically do there is we have all these conversations about open source. If you have any questions about what issues you'd like to work on, or if you need clarifications on anything, that would be the best place to ask those questions, or to ask for those kind of to start off those kind of conversations, and we can all, you know, chat back and forth and help you out. And we have these sessions every week on Thursdays at the same time. We are not going to have a session next week because Sonia and myself will not be available to host the session. But the following week we have a couple other interesting sessions like this scheduled for you. I think the next one, let me actually check. I think the next one is Sonia is going to walk us through the architecture of the JSON RPC server, part 2. There's going to be a second. The last time we had a part 1, and then for the coming session is going to be a part 2, which is kind of a deep dive into the JSON RPC server, trying to understand how it works, how to work with it. If you wanted to contribute, how you would contribute. So thank you all for joining us today. We are going to be ending the stream here. I hope you've learned something. I hope you go clone that repository, try to poke around, try to see if you can help us optimize it in any way, or log issues and try to contribute. You know, the whole point of our live streams and our OSS Devs channel is to make ourselves available to work with you to build Shardeum. And now that we're doing ITN and bug bounty is coming up, I want you all to participate, earn some XPs, get some rewards, makes yourself eligible for some SHM tokens and airdrops, and we look forward to, you know, building with you all. Any updates from you, Sonia?
Hi everyone. So thanks Kenny for the wonderful session. I just want to say that me and our team is going to be in Brussels for ECC. If anyone is attending there, come and say hi.
Awesome. That's true. Sonia and some of the team members from Shardeum are going to be in Brussels at ECC. So if you'll be there, or you know anyone that will be there and you want to say hi, go say hi to all of us. All right, bye everyone, and I will see you all next time.